You came here expecting a story about revenge, the empath who finally turns, who gathers all that pain and hands it back, who makes the people who drain them feel every cold thing they once felt. It is not that story. What actually happens is worse. Worse for the people who used you, because revenge would have meant you still cared. Revenge would have kept them at the center of your life, still pulling the strings, still shaping who you became. What comes instead is quieter than revenge and far more final. There's a kind of quiet that arrives late. Not the quiet of a room with no one in it, the quiet of a person who has finally stopped waiting to be understood. You know the moment. You have been talking your whole life, explaining yourself, softening your edges so other people could hold you without getting hurt, translating your own pain into something gentle, enough for the people who caused it. And then, one day, you simply stop, not in anger, not in defeat, something quieter than both. You stop reaching. You stop reaching for the person who never reached back. You stop building the bridge from your side alone again. And in that stopping, something strange happens. The exhaustion that lived in your chest for years begins to lift. Not because anything was fixed, but because you finally stopped trying to fix it. For most of your life, they told you that you felt too much, that you were too sensitive, too soft for a world this hard, and you believed them. You spent years trying to feel less, trying to need less, trying to shrink the part of you that noticed everything, because noticing everything hurt. But here is what no one told you. That sensitivity was never the wound. It was the depth. And depth does not disappear when you grow tired of it. It only goes underground. It waits. This is a story about what happens when it comes back up. Not as a weapon, not as revenge against the people who drained you, but as something far quieter and far harder to touch. The return of a person who has stopped asking the world to witness them. There's a man standing at a window. The rain has been falling for a long time. He is not waiting for anyone. For the first time in years, he is not waiting for anyone at all. And he has never felt more like himself. What is left of a person after they stop healing the whole world? Tonight, we find out. Before the return, there were the underground years. No one saw them. That was the point. They happened in the spaces between, in the long drives home, where you finally let your face fall, in the conversations where you said you were fine because the truth would have taken too long, in the nights you lay awake, holding feelings that were never yours to begin with. You were the one who absorbed. When a room turned heavy, you felt it before anyone spoke. When someone was lying, you knew it in your body before your mind agreed to it. When the people around you were in pain, you carried it home with you, quietly, the way you carry rain in your clothes long after you have stepped inside. You thought this made you useful, so you gave. You became the one everyone came to, the one who understood, the one who stayed late, listened longer, forgave faster. You took the deepest part of yourself and turned it into something at the service of everyone but you. And slowly, without noticing, you began to disappear. Not all at once, the way a candle does not announce the moment it goes out. You stopped saying what you needed, because needing felt like a burden to place on others. You stopped showing your tiredness, because someone always seemed to need you more. You became a person made entirely of giving, with no one left inside to receive. There were the years you could not stop thinking about someone who had already stopped thinking about you. The years you mistook anxiety for love and silence for safety. The years you were so busy searching for the good in people that you could not see what they were doing to you while you searched. You were not weak in those years, though everyone, including you, believed you were. You were studying. Every time someone used you, you were learning the exact shape of how it happens. Every time you were lied to, something in you grew quieter and more precise. Every time you absorbed a pain that was not yours, you were building a depth that most people will live their whole lives without ever touching. You thought you were drowning. You were learning how to breathe underwater. Carl Jung had a name for this descent. He called it the night sea journey, the long passage through darkness that the soul has to take before it can return as something more than it was. It is not a punishment. It is not a wrong turn. It is the route itself. The only way through is down, and no one climbs back out of the underground unchanged. That was always the point of going down. Not to break you, to remake you slowly in the dark, where no one could interrupt the work. You have been down there a long time, long enough that the world above forgot you were ever there, long enough that even you began to wonder if the surface still existed. But something has been shifting lately. You can feel it, even if you cannot name it yet. A loosening in the chest, a quiet that has stopped feeling empty. The night sea journey was never meant to last forever. It was only ever the first half of the story. First, Jung spent his life circling a single law. He called it the law of opposites. Nothing in the psyche exists alone. Every quality carries its opposite inside it. The way every light casts a shadow it cannot walk away from. And when something is pushed far enough toward one extreme, it does not simply break. It turns into its opposite. The gentlest people, pressed long enough, become the most unmovable. The ones who gave without limit learn one day to give nothing they have not chosen to give. The silence that was once self-erasure becomes a silence no one can pull a single word out of. This is not a transformation you decide on. You do not wake up and choose it. It arrives on its own quietly, when the old way of being has finally exhausted every last thing it had to give. For most of your life, you lived as only half a person. All light, no shadow, all giving, no refusal, all softness, no edge. You were taught that the soft half was the good half, and the rest of you, the anger, the boundaries, the capacity to turn and walk away, was something shameful to be buried where no one would find it. So you buried it. You were told that anger made you cruel, that saying no made you selfish, that protecting yourself made you no better than the ones who hurt you. And so you became a person who could feel everything except the one feeling that might have saved you. But Jung understood something most people never reach in a lifetime. The shadow is not your enemy. The shadow is the part of you that you were never given permission to become. It holds your anger, which is only your sense of what is wrong, finally given a voice. It holds your boundaries, which are only your knowledge of what you can no longer afford to keep absorbing. It holds your ability to let another person face the consequences of who they are, without rushing in to soften the fall for them. These were never the dark parts of you. They were the missing parts. You cannot have a coin with only one side. You cannot have a life made entirely of yielding. And you cannot become a whole person by cutting away the half of you that knows how to protect the rest. The work of a human life, Jung said, is not to become good. It is to become complete, to turn finally and face the buried half and bring it home. This is what the underground years were preparing you for. not to make you harder, to make you whole. The empath who returns is not a soft person who learned to be hard. That is not it at all. They are a complete person who no longer has to choose between their tenderness and their spine. They still feel everything. They have lost none of the depth, none of it. But now the depth has an edge, and the edge, at last, has somewhere solid to stand. This is the turning the law of opposites was always pointing toward. The descent reverses, the buried half rises, and the person who climbs back out is no longer divided against themselves. They have stopped being only half of who they are. And a whole person, it turns out, cannot be manipulated the way half of one always could. So this is the comeback, and it looks nothing like the word suggests. There is no triumphant return, no moment where you walk back into the old rooms and prove to everyone what they failed to see in you. The comeback is quieter than that, quieter and far more final. It begins inside you, long before anyone else notices a thing. You wake up one day and the noise is gone. The endless running commentary that lived in your head for years. Did I upset them? Should I have said it differently? Are they angry with me? How do I fix this before it becomes something worse? All of it, simply quiet. Not because you stopped caring, because you stopped auditioning for people who were never going to give you the part. Your presence changes before your words do. You become slower, steadier. There's a stillness in you now that other people can feel the moment you enter a room. And it unsettles the ones who relied on your old restlessness, the ones who counted on your eagerness to smooth everything over, to fill every silence, to make the discomfort go away so they would never have to sit in it themselves. You stop laughing at things that are not funny just to keep the air light. You stop performing an interest you do not feel. You stop filling the silences that were never yours to fill in the first place. You ask the direct question now, the one you used to swallow, and you let it sit there in the open without rushing to make it comfortable for anyone. And then, slowly, the change reaches the people in your life. Here is what the return looks like at the edges of your relationships. It is not a confrontation. The empath who has integrated their shadow almost never raises their voice. They have no need to. Volume was always the language of people who were afraid they would not be heard. That fear is gone now. The person who only ever called when they needed something. They simply stopped being answered. No speech, no final message laying out the years of imbalance. Just a quiet that does not lift this time and never explains itself. The one who drained you with the same crisis, again and again and again. You notice you no longer rush toward the fire. You feel the old pull in your chest, the reflex to fix, to rescue, to make it better. And for the first time, you feel it, and you do not move. The family pattern that shaped your entire childhood. You meet it now with a boundary so calm it barely even looks like resistance. One sentence, no defense, no 3-hour explanation offered to someone who was never going to understand it anyway, and never wanted to. And the strange thing, the thing no one warned you about, is that there is no drama in any of it. The version of you that needed everyone to understand why, that needed permission, that needed the other person to finally agree before a decision could feel real. That version is simply gone. This is the part the people around you cannot quite name. You have not become cold. If they looked closely, really looked, they would see you feel more than you ever did. You simply stopped spending that feeling on people who only ever knew how to take it. You return to yourself the same way you left, quietly, without ceremony. The things you abandoned to make room for everyone else, the quiet mornings, the work that was only ever yours, the version of your own life you stopped letting yourself imagine years ago because imagining it hurt too much. You come back to them now, not with celebration, just a slow, steady homecoming. You begin choosing your company by a single, quiet question. Does being near this person cost me myself? And when the answer is yes, you let them go, without guilt, without the long internal trial where you argue both sides for hours until you have talked yourself back into staying. The comeback is not you re-entering their world stronger than before. It is you quietly building your own and discovering one ordinary morning that you no longer need anyone's permission to live inside it. There is a word for where this ends, and it is the easiest word in the world to mistake. The word is indifference, and almost everyone gets it wrong. They hear it and think of coldness, a heart that finally closed, a person who stopped feeling because feeling had cost them too much for too long. But that is not what waits at the end of this road. Not even close. The indifference that comes after integration is not the absence of feeling. It is the absence of the hook. For years, a certain person lived rent-free in your mind. You replayed the conversations. You rehearsed what you would say if they ever came back. You measured your healing by how much space they still took up inside you. If they still had power over your thoughts, you told yourself, then you were not free yet. And then one day, without any single moment you can point to, you notice they are simply not there anymore. Not banished, not forgiven in some grand and cinematic gesture. Just gone from the center of you. The thought of them arrives the way it always used to, and finds no room left to sit down in. This is not coldness. This is what wholeness feels like from the inside. The manipulation that used to work on you no longer finds a surface to land on. The guilt that used to steer you has nothing left to grip. The need for their understanding, their approval, their version of what happened between you. It is quietly dissolved because you stopped handing strangers the authority to decide who you are. You cannot guilt a person who has met their own shadow. There is nothing left to threaten them with. They have already looked at the worst in themselves and lived through it. They have already survived the meeting everyone else is still running from. The small accusations of other people lose all their power against someone who has done that work in the dark. This is close to what Jung meant by individuation, becoming so fully yourself that other people's opinions become weather, something that passes across you and changes nothing about the shape of who you are underneath. You no longer fight for your worth because you are no longer selling it to anyone. You no longer chase the ones who pull away because you understand now that someone leaving is just information, not a verdict on your value, just a fact about where they could go and where they could not. And you would rather be disliked for exactly who you are than loved for a softened version of yourself you had to perform every single day. That is not bitterness. Bitterness still clings to the wound. Bitterness still needs the other person to be wrong. This is the opposite of that. The wound has closed, and what is left in its place is just quiet, just space, just room to finally breathe. The people who hurt you have not been defeated. Nothing so dramatic. They have become irrelevant. And irrelevance, it turns out, is the only ending that ever truly sets a person free. Revenge would have kept them close. Revenge would have kept you circling the same old wound for years. This asks nothing of them at all. You are not playing their game better than they ever did. You have stopped playing it, and you are not going back. So we come back to the window. The rain is still falling. The man is still standing there, exactly where we left him. But something has changed in the time we have been speaking, even if the room looks precisely the same as it did before. He is not waiting anymore. Not for an apology that was never going to come. Not for the people who drained him to finally understand what they did. Not for the world to hand back the years it quietly took from him. One small surrender at a time. He has stopped waiting, and in the stopping, the waiting has finally lost its grip on him. This is where the long journey ends. Not in triumph, not in revenge, in something quieter than either of those. A person who went all the way down, met the buried half of himself in the dark, and climbed back out holding both halves at once. If you have walked this whole road with us, through the exhaustion, through the disappearing, through the years spent loving people who could not hold you and calling it patience, then you already know this was never a story about becoming powerful. It is a story about coming home. The comeback was never about beating anyone. It was about leaving the game so completely that the game could no longer find the door. About building a life so quietly your own that manipulation arrives, knocks, and gets no answer. About becoming a person whose tenderness is no longer a wound to be used, and whose boundaries no longer need to be explained or defended to anyone. And this is why revenge would have been so much smaller than what actually happened to you. Revenge would have kept them in the room. Revenge would have meant they still mattered enough to answer. What you found instead was worse for them and better for you. You simply walked out and did not look back to see if they noticed. The transformation does not announce itself. It does not ask to be seen. It does not post its boundaries or narrate its own growth to an audience. It simply happens in the quiet, in a person standing at a window who has finally, after all these years, stopped reaching for the ones who never reached back. You spent so long believing your sensitivity was the thing that broke you. It was the thing that was building you the entire time. The depth that exhausted you was the same depth that, in the end, made you impossible to break. They were never two different things. They were always the same gift, seen from two different years of your life. You do not need to force your return. If you have felt even a little of this tonight, the tiredness with people who do not deserve your softness, the quiet certainty about who needs to go, the strange, unfamiliar peace sitting underneath the loss, then it has already begun. It began before you pressed play. The empath's last comeback is not a louder life. It is a quieter one, a life where you are finally, completely here. The rain keeps falling. The man turns from the window, and for the first time in a very long time, there is nowhere else he needs to be, and no one left he needs to become. This is where we leave him. And this is where the journey ends.